Welcome back to another episode of Christian Natural Health. Today, I'm excited to have Sonia Gomez with us. Sonia at abundantacres.com is focused on helping families design regenerative food systems, family compounds, and profit centers on their property to live healthy, happy, and free. Sonia Gomez has advocated for alternative health, has been a voice for freedom, and a community leader in alternative health education for the past 12 years. Recovering from a serious life-altering accident, Sonia discovered the secrets to eliminating synthetic medications and holistically rebuilding her health. Food was the first and most important medicine. When Sonia isn't chasing rainbows and telling jokes, she is a wife and mom passionate about projects that are good for people and the planet. Welcome, Sonia. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So, first of all, I'm curious what happened with this accident. What was the deal there, and what all did you have to shift?
um, so 17 years old, living in San Diego, riding the wave of my life. I'm an avid surfer.
Mhm.
And or at least I was at that time. I was, working at the YMCA as a in a leadership training and as a camp counselor, youth camp counselor, and was out on my break and went to ride the wave of my life. Got out there was a storm. It was like this whole thing. And of course, I got my butt handed to me by the ocean
Yeah.
when a wave knocked me off of my board. I hit the ground like a ton of bricks because it was low tide and just got completely discombobulated in the waves. And I got pulled out of the ocean by the lifeguards, who were like these beautiful Argentinian guys, by the way. So embarrassed. And like all I could imagine thinking to myself was like, half of me was like, "Please give me mouth to mouth," and the other half of me was like, "Please get me off the beach."
Oh
And,
my
like,
God.
so I got up, in a hurry and just feeling like, "Okay, this is it's fine. The tingling in my hands is gonna go away. I'm pretty sure the numbness in my head is gonna go away, like, just get me off the beach." I was so embarrassed.
Sure.
But unfortunately, what I thought was gonna be, like, maybe a couple days, week-long recovery ended up being throwing me into this neurological syndrome that the medical industry just kept treating with medications and layering, each pain medication to address each symptom and never the syndrome as a whole. And for you moms who are listening, maybe you can relate to this feeling of like, by any means necessary, I'm going to figure this out for my kiddo. And that was my mom. And thank God she did, because she tapped into the holistic community and found a holistic neurologist. Actually, he was a holistic health practitioner who went back to school to study neurology, and actually had spent some time in Israel studying what is now known as the endocannabinoid system.
Hmm.
And that was life-changing for me, because this doctor introduced me to my endocannabinoid system, taught me about phytonutrients, taught me did some tests that revealed that I was having an allergic reaction to many of the pesticides and herbicides that are used in conventional farming. And by the way, if you've been told that you have an autoimmune condition, or if your kids are suffering from things like eczema, or really uncomfortable digestive processes or anything like that, go past the point of what your doctors are telling you, because you never know how you could be affected by conventional foods and farming practices.
Mhm.
Anyways, that was kind of what uncovered my whole journey as far as food. He taught me about what to eat, where to source it from. I really got to tap into my local food economy, got to empower myself with, growing a lot of our own food. And it was an incredible journey. Within 3 months of following this regimen, I was off all my medications.
Yeah.
Within 6 months, I was off all over the counter anti-inflammatories. And within 9 months, I had lost 97 pounds and started to feel normal again.
Oh my
And
gosh.
when you're in the throes of your injury, I'll just bring this to a close by saying, when you're in the throes of your injury or your illness, it's not really you that's affected as much as your family.
Sure.
And so I really saw, the effects of that. And it was amazing to go from being healthy to feeling like you're dying, and then finding a way out of the darkness and back into the light. And
Yeah.
so between God and good food,
Yeah.
that's what made it possible.
Yeah, praise God for that. So you were 17 and you started growing your own food and like
Well,
doing all
my
that stuff?
mom, we
Oh my
always lived
gosh.
that way. I was also raised with Native American Indians, like fully
Okay.
immersed in this culture. So this idea that you can live with and on the land
Yeah,
is
yeah,
very much embedded in me. And so we were growing food, flowers. We were huge parts of our community. We ran a prayer community as well.
yeah.
So anything that we could do to build abundance on our land and from our family to make that, community contribution was a huge, always has been a huge part of our life.
Got it. Wow. So, and at that point, were you growing everything yourself? Were you still buying anything from commercially at all?
Certainly. Yeah,
You
we
were.
were definitely buying stuff
Sure.
still.
Yeah.
It's a huge transition to become
Oh, yeah.
completely system independent,
Right.
right? And so be realistic about that, especially depending on where you live. But,
Sure.
if there's one thing I can say is that small changes make a huge difference in what's possible with your health and well-being, the vitality of your family, how you start to offset different, health challenges that you might be confronted with. And so that's the main takeaway here is that and question that you might consider asking yourself are what are the small things that we can do now that make a difference, that make a huge difference in the way that we feel and function on a daily basis?
Sure, yeah. So, with your focus on kind of sustainable food systems now, what are some of those small changes that you can suggest people begin to make at the beginning so it's not so completely overwhelming, this idea of trying to get away from all the industrialized processes?
Yeah, 100%. And I think we'll answer this in two parts because number one is really identifying that there's a problem or a concern in the first place. And a lot of people don't even consider that, right? Like
Mhm.
most of Instagram, most of TikTok, and don't think that I know how you are, girls. When you have 5 seconds alone, you might do a little scroll on the on the gram.
Uh-huh.
So, but most of these images that we see are like, yay, moms at Starbucks and Target. It's like the
Uh,
suburban moms trying to figure out how to get 5 minutes alone and then create amazing environments for themselves. And so, the first step first is admitting that, like, what we think is true about our food system and supply chains is not more
mhm,
than ever. And I think that the shutdowns and the lockdowns with the pandemic really brought people to a level of awareness that we didn't have before, where we had to kind of sit down and have a come to Jesus moment to say, ugh, some of
mhm,
these things are more true than we ever thought possible, and it's closer to home than we ever, considered it would be. And
mhm,
our lives are forever changed because of it. And
mhm,
so the Great Awakening includes recognizing that there is a bigger political divide in our country than has ever been true before. There are interruptions, there are practices happening right now in our industrial food production that we are not aware of. I just had a whistleblower call me um you know I would say about a week ago, talking to me about how they're using technology to infuse the plants that are being grown. And I'm talking major everyday things. Our oats, our grains, our corn is currently being infused with nanotechnology, allowing the herbicides and pesticides to permeate our. So, what you're eating is infused with chemicals right now. And
mhm,
it's a scary thought to think about and almost too much to absorb,
mhm.
but the more that you can admit to yourself that something has to change, I guarantee you right now that every single one of us listening knows somebody who's on medication for thyroid, heart disease, diabetes. Every single one of us knows somebody who's recently been diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. Maybe your kids are experiencing higher levels of anxiety or depression. Many of these things are connected directly to our chemical exposure, and many of these sources of chemical exposure are coming right through the grocery stores into our homes. And there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
That's why we started Abundant Acres, because in fact, there is something you can do about it. You can, in fact, take the land that you live on right now, whether it's a half an acre or 500 acres, and
Mhm,
start to remove the chemicals from your landscaping. You can start to understand what it means to have healthy soil on your property. You
mhm,
can start to plant things like lettuces and vegetables that are low maintenance but produce a prolific harvest over and over again.
mhm.
You can put medicinal herbs into your landscape instead of ornamental, useless plants on your property that,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, this is This is a consciousness shift. And
Sure,
once you become conscious and aware, you can still buy beautiful plants at Home Depot, but buy
sure.
the ones that are edible.
That are
You can
use and good.
still you can still get, you can still go to the same places and do the same things, but replace your buying habits with things that will actually produce usefulness for you, your family, and your future. Should anything happen
Mhm.
again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So just curious because I've sort of dabbled in a little bit of this, and so is my mom. Have gotten really into very trying to grow things. And now I have so much more respect for farmers than I ever have before because it's not always easy. So what, and we're in the desert, by the way, so that certainly makes some difference as well. So what tips do you have for somebody when they first start trying to do this and they're trying to find what works, what doesn't work? Are there things that you learned yourself of, well, that crop failed and I needed to make a couple of rotations? I don't know exactly what I'm asking you, but what do you have, what suggestions do you have in terms of how do you go about doing this such that it seems like it's helpful?
Yeah, 1,000%. Number one is I wouldn't go at it alone. Knowing what I know now and the amount of time and money that I've spent in, my front yard, my backyard, on my own, 5, 10, 15 acre properties.
Mhm.
Everything starts with a plan. And whether you're planning a vacation and want to have the most optimized experience for you and your husband and your kids, like you create a plan. Whether
Mhm.
you're trying to organize your week and sports occasions and all of these different things. Everything starts with the plan. So, number one is I would invest in the plan. The
Mhm.
plan includes, what do we love to eat? What do
Yeah,
we love to cook and prepare in our kitchen? What
sure.
would we love? What is going to take the least amount of time and give us the most yield? So,
Mhm.
really understanding those things about yourself, your lifestyle, your family help
Mhm.
to direct what goes in the ground and
Yeah.
what you're going to do with it when it comes off the vine. If you
Mhm.
just like throw a bunch of seeds in the ground
Mhm.
because you're like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna make this garden,"
Yeah.
chances are you're not gonna get the optimal results. You're gonna have weeds going everywhere. It's gonna be like, "Oh my God, this is a nightmare. I'm going back to Whole Foods," you
Sure.
know?
Yeah.
But if you can start with a plan and be intentional about what you're doing and how you're doing it, it
Yep.
becomes a lot more manageable. And
Mhm.
this is, again, this is applicable to trying to take a vacation or trying to organize your week to get all the kids in sports,
Got it.
or
Yeah.
extracurricular activities. Everything starts with really organizing the plan, you
Mhm. Yeah.
know?
That makes perfect.
Second thing is a lot of pressure is released with proper preparations.
Mhm.
For
Mhm.
instance, a lot of people wanna just go to the nursery, buy a bag of soil, throw it into a garden bed or pot, and then plant something into it and be like, "La, la, la," you know with their with their
Sure.
hose, and
Yeah.
that might work.
Uh-huh.
However, many of the soils that you're buying in bags are completely lifeless or have been infused with toxic chemicals, so you're just inviting that right back into your house,
Oh, wow.
right?
Okay.
And so you never know what you're investing in, and that's why preparations as a part of your planning make such a big difference. There's people in your local community right now who are producing high value compost that you can purchase from, and now you're supporting small businesses and tapping into a food economy locally that can really help offset some of the challenges
Mhm.
and allow you to avoid many of the chemicals that you would otherwise be exposed to. When
Mhm.
you work with an organization like mine, Abundant Acres was really built to help eliminate the guesswork. We
Mhm.
want to help you build vibrant food sources on your property and
Mhm.
help you through the planning process so that the dream you have for your family's health and your family's legacy can be realized without wasting a ton of time and money. We've established the relationships. We understand your grow zone. We know what's going to thrive in your area, and
Right.
we've pulled together some of the world's leaders in, dry land restoration, growing in the desert, growing in the jungle, all of these different environments we've kind of pulled together because we're on a mission to help empower families to be system independent, healthy, happy, and free on your land while building equity in your asset.
That's
Because
fascinating.
now more than ever, land ownership and legacy that you're leaving for your kids
Uh-huh.
is it is the way that we need to be thinking if you're not already thinking that way.
Wow. So, okay. So with abundantacres.com, you actually help people to go through the planning process. You're not just saying, go figure it out, but you'll actually help provide that. And then, so my next question was going to be, as far as the soil, how do you know when the soil has been contaminated and when it hasn't? Like, if are there certain brands that you have recommended on there, or can people buy directly from you as far as the soil is concerned?
Yep, a combination of both. But your original question, which is a really good one, how do you know? And by the way, if you're purchasing a house or you already own land, this is a great criteria to kind of check in as a part of your due diligence, right? So let's say you already have property. Well, when you work with Abundant Acres, we're going to instruct you on exactly how to take soil tests from your property. And we have a network of PhDs, soil scientists,
Mhm.
who are incredible and can tell you exactly what's happening underneath the surface. And
Mm,
based off of what's happening in your soil, we can tell you what you have to do
mm,
or what you can do to create optimal growing conditions.
mhm,
Now, this is ideal if you want to have a cut flower garden or
mm,
if you really want to build more self-sufficiency with your food supply on your land. And
mhm.
again, you don't have to become like Farmer John with your straw hat. Like
Yeah.
there's little things that you can do to start offsetting the cost of groceries in your household. Or if you want to just have a juicing garden because you're really, trying to invest in your health and well-being right now, there's
Mhm.
little things you can do to make a big difference. But everything starts in that plan. And our plan starts with the health of your soil. We work from the ground up. So
That's,
we're not going to
yeah.
instruct you to go and buy a bunch of expensive stuff because you can't pay your way into fixing problems, right? We partner with science and Mother Nature to share and show us what's happening beneath the surface. Just
Mhm,
like you go to a doctor to figure out whether or not you have a broken arm and you use an x-ray, our soil tests are like the x-ray for your earth. And
mhm,
now you know what's happening underneath the surface, and we can give you a customized soil treatment plan so you
mhm,
know how to use household waste to create abundant compost and organic matter for your soil, how we can start to feed the microbes in your soil to
mhm,
build more nutritionally dense food
mhm.
in your gardens.
Yeah.
And again, this is like the coolest thing in the world. Like soil really becomes sexy because you're like, oh, that makes a difference in whether I have to, whether I have aphids or whether I have
Mhm,
pests or if it releases it. The ripple effect of understanding this is
mhm,
so much, it's so empowering because now you don't have to depend on chemicals to make your grass green.
mhm.
There's things you can use right there in your house and practices you can implement that make you system independent, chemical free,
Mhm.
and, completely healthy on your land.
That's fantastic. Very cool. And so I'm curious because you've kind of alluded a couple of times to freedom and sustainable and trying to, get off grid or out of the system in case something happens in the future. Did you get really inspired on Abundant Acres around the pandemic, or was it before that that you started doing a lot of this?
You know, I say this kind of regularly. Before COVID made this lifestyle cool, this was a practice that my husband and I had implemented. We've had, four kids at home. I'm a bonus mom to our first three. And then I have one belly baby. And so we have kids ranging from 21 all the way down to 7 years old.
Mhm,
However, it's been a lifestyle of ours since the first one was born. Everyone was at home, raised unvaccinated. We did our best to homeschool or offset, public education in areas that we could.
mhm,
We lived 45 minutes away from town. We
mhm,
grew our prolific gardens. My husband is in the holistic health space, but trained with a gentleman by the name of Bill Mollison, who's kind of the godfather of food forestry
mhm,
back in the early 90s.
mhm.
So we've
Wow.
always acquired anywhere from 5 to 55 plus acres of land,
Uh-huh.
built profit centers. For us, that was aromatic herbs, and we made our own lotions and tinctures and body care products for mama and baby.
Yeah.
Um, and then we also had other medicinal herb farms.
Mhm.
Um, and then, but always built our food system around us because who wants to drive 45 minutes for, milk or
Right.
um, veggies. Like
Mhm,
we wanted as much sustainability as possible.
mhm.
And however, as the kids got older, we moved closer and closer into town because the kids want conveniences, they want
Sure.
friends, they want all of this.
Mhm,
When the pandemic hit, we were at the peak of our previous industry and business. And I'll just say it because if you look me up, you're going to find that I'm one of the leaders in the cannabis movement,
Mhm.
focused in alternative health. Really focused on medicinal uses. I've worked with the American Medical Association to create certifications for the medical community and helping them understand how to connect with their patients. And we had served tens of thousands of patients worldwide. We've impacted millions with this story and transformation that there are alternative methods of pain management. You don't have to be dependent on synthetic medications
Mhm.
to feel and function, better.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so it was 2020. The shutdowns were just starting to happen. We looked around at our kiddos who were like, all of a sudden ripped out of their sports and all of a sudden ripped away from their friends and kind of starting to unravel. And we said, whoa, 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 we're
Mhm.
out of here. We're getting out of South Denver and going back to the mountains.
Mhm.
And so it was then that we moved into a tiny little town with 1,000 people where people still, had this mentality like, we're okay, we're outside, we're going to be fine. There wasn't this panic and fear mongering happening all around us.
Mhm.
Um, and it was at that time that some of our followers from online, we had built an audience of over 900,000 people.
Mhm.
And some of our followers who were watching us and our lifestyle started to reach out and say, hey, we're, interested in having we're watching what's happening with the supply chain. We recognize what's going on politically. Um, you know, we are really invested in being as healthy as we possibly can. Don't trust anything in the grocery stores. And we want to turn our 5 acres into our own food supply. Can you help us?
Right.
And we were like, well, we can help. Have you done this? Have you done that? We made him an offer. It wasn't a business at the time. This was in
Right.
November of 2022.
Mhm.
But made him an offer. He took it. We came out to Florida, tested the water and soil, found high levels of contaminants in the soil from what the landscape company was doing for their lawn.
Yeah, yeah.
And, my husband, who's, one of the leaders in, soil repair and building living soil conditions, actually created a custom soil treatment plan for them, and we ended up designing an 18,000 square foot food forest for that family.
Wow.
So that was the kickoff.
Yeah.
And I have to say that Jesus was working overtime that day because I came to Florida with my suitcase and my vehicle, never expecting to be in this business. I was going to take a little Floridian vacation from Colorado and go right back home where my family was. But
Yeah.
as God, when God puts something on your heart, you know that and you try every way to wiggle your way out of it. You're like, no, no, no,
Mhm.
no, Jesus, I'm busy.
I don't wanna do this.
No,
Right.
no, God, you got me messed up. You must have somebody else in my nope, nope. One person after another just became another layer of blessing, another challenge. In some cases, taking us all the way down to where my husband and I were looking at each other saying, are we doing this? Are
Mhm.
we doing this?
Yeah.
And through prayer and perseverance and just saying, please allow us to be in your highest service, whatever you have for us to do right now, God, please be at work
Right.
in our lives. And that brought us to where we are right now in
Uh-huh.
service to a beautiful woman who's now our partner and client, where we're helping her develop her 124 acres into multi-generational housing, a family
Wow.
compound, a fully sustainable food system here on her property. She's 35-year conventional farmer. So we're helping kind of map out how that transition from conventional to beyond organic
Mm.
practices or regenerative practices is going to look like. And we're
Mhm.
helping her build multiple streams of income on her land because as a 65-year-old woman, she wants to figure out how to generate, an income and
Mhm.
build a legacy for her family.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I've absolutely alluded to freedom and I've absolutely talked about legacy because I believe that God wants us to be intentional and purposeful in the way that we are, being fruitful and multiplying. What are we leaving behind to our kids? How
Mhm.
are we, what choices are we making today that's going to affect them tomorrow? And
Mhm.
so I invite you who's listening, if God wants us to be healthy, God wants us to be happy, and God wants us to be free, but it's not going to come easy. You got to be real intentional, and real focused, and start investing in yourself and your family differently than you ever did before. And think about the legacy that you're going to be putting behind. And it starts with your land, and it starts with with your family. What do you want for them? And how can you make that possible sooner, faster?
Yep, that is definitely fantastic. And as you say, after the pandemic and because of all the supply chain issues, suddenly people became much more aware of a lot of this, but a lot of people just don't know where to start. So that's great. And so when people go to abundantacres.com, sounds like they could go all in and have you guys fly out and assess, all the soil and everything. Are there smaller steps on there that people can take if they're just wanting to begin the process?
Absolutely. So of course, there's going to, and actually, the backbone of our business was built on that family who's like, yo, I have land right now. I'm ready to go. I
Mhm.
want results tomorrow. And I want you guys to hold our hands through the process. That's
Right.
absolutely a possibility. We'll come out to your land, my husband, myself, and somebody from our soil science team. We come out there and we call it done in a day. And
Mhm.
in one day, we'll start to sketch it out. We'll personally take your soil samples and your water samples. We'll shoulders to shoulder, boots on the ground, be with you, learning and loving your land as you do, seeing it through your eyes, and making sure that we're really capturing the essence of your dream and what you want to see possible on your property in
Mhm.
one day.
Yep.
There's also, we really understand that, um, we're in the middle of a major economic crisis,
Right.
and that should not exclude families who are working hard, but maybe don't have as many liquid resources available. So we've created packages that allow you to get your complete design done, personalized, but all virtually. So we're eliminating, the costs of travel and accommodation and a lot of that stuff,
Sure.
and really allowing us to give you personalized, customized attention, via the internet. God
Mhm.
bless Zoom,
Yeah,
right? Um,
absolutely.
and you still get access to our team. But we instruct you on taking your soil samples and then shipping it to us.
Sure.
We work with you to go through your dream. We work with you to figure out what those things are that you want to see on your land, and
Mhm.
can deliver the entire Abundant Acres Legacy Land project design to you all via mail and the internet.
Mhm.
And so investment with us starts around $5,000, and then we work it up from there. We have opportunities for you to actually come in a live event setting and be with us here, and bring your family and let your kids get involved with what you're doing. And
Mhm.
also create opportunities for you to collaborate in person with our team. We've done our best to create a program and a process that's inclusive to
Mhm.
everybody, meeting you right where you're at. Even if you've never done anything like this before,
Mhm.
but you want to create the plan so you can start to implement little by little,
Mhm.
to match your budget, to match your time
Yeah.
availability, and to really give you hope. We want to help you move from fear and operate from faith,
Mhm.
give you the hope you need to share, the love that you have for your family by building abundance on your land.
Mhm. Fantastic. And you've only been doing this since 2022 as far as the actual business is concerned?
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we kicked off and decided formally to make this a business, I would say in March. But between
Wow.
November and March, we've, served clients all over the region. And then we've enrolled the most incredible team. And between us and our team, we have served thousands of acres across the nation and dozens of different diverse clients, anywhere from the legacy farmer who is starting to see health challenges from the previous farming generation. And they're saying, I think that there's some things we need to change on our land if we're
Mhm.
going to continue to do this.
Right.
Um, and they just need help making a sustainable
Mhm.
transition into regenerative practices,
Right.
all the way to the family, just like a family like yours who wants to make small changes that will make a big difference in the long run, and just have no idea where to get started. Wherever you're at, we can meet and match you right there and help you build the confidence and have the clarity necessary to
Mhm.
start investing in yourself and your property.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So, what have I not asked you that you want to make sure you leave with our audience?
Um, I think one of the biggest questions that come up when we talk about food sovereignty and food security, we might think about, we might take our minds all the way to the extreme that we have to be, like Little House on the Prairie and not have any and
Sure.
not have any amenities.
Right.
So I want to manage those expectations a little bit and say that you don't have to sacrifice your comfort to be self-contained.
Hmm. Hmm.
You can have all of the luxuries of modern day life with being prepared to be system independent.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's a lot of what we do is help you understand the intricacies of this transition so
Hmm.
that you don't feel overwhelmed or
Yeah,
become overzealous and invest in things that you won't be able to maintain.
sure. Yeah.
So I think that that was like is always like, what's it gonna take? What do I
Sure.
have to let go of? Like, don't worry, we don't have to sacrifice everything. Like, I'm
Right.
a stiletto farmer.
Uh-huh.
I like to keep it fabulous,
Uh-huh.
things can be beautiful and functional.
Sure.
You don't so that's probably one of the biggest things. And then also, like, what does it take to maintain something like this?
Hmm.
Um, the truth is that we partner with Mother Nature to make this a low maintenance, high yield process.
Hmm.
Sure, there's going to be stuff and things that you have to do, but you're currently doing stuff and things that's taking you nowhere closer to
Right.
being self-contained and self-sustained. So let's look at what we can replace in our daily habits that
Hmm.
allow us to thrive
Hmm.
and be independent rather than continuing to latch on and nurse
Hmm.
off of a system that honestly it's not providing a ton, but convenience right now. And how's that going?
Hmm.
Not great.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes
So
sense.
that I would say that those are kind of the two things that I wanted to say is that you can be as fabulous as you are, and still have these systems in place for you. And
Mhm.
then there's small things that you can do no matter where you live. If you're in an HOA or if you're completely out in the middle of nowhere, there's things that we can do right now to put a plan in place to help you get and to help you get to where you want to be.
Mhm.
Whether it's 12 months from now or immediately, it's
Mhm.
up to you. We'll meet and match you just where you're at.
Fantastic. So where can people go to find out more about you?
Well, if you wanna be entertained, you'll go to soniagomez.tv. That's where my podcast is, and that's where you can see a lot more about where I am and what I'm doing. It's like, "Where in the world is Sonia Gomez?" Do you remember
Uh-huh.
"Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?"
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Where in the world is Sonia Gomez? You can check
Yes.
me out at soniagomez.tv. However, if you are a family or individual that's really considering building system independence, if you are concerned about the political divide right now, if you are in alignment with our creator and feeling like you just need to do more and be more, and you have land that you want to feed your family and community if you want to build revenue on your property or just increase the equity in your asset, come
Mhm.
to abundantacres.com. We have a step-by-step plan and process. We hand select every person that we work with. So we'll just invite you to come on to a strategy call with us so we can talk about your legacy land project.
Mhm.
You'll get to meet myself and my husband and some other members of the team when you come on board with us, and don't allow money to be the reason why not, where there's a way for us to work with you. And again, small changes are going to make a huge difference in the way that you prepare yourself for what's coming in 2024. I
Mhm.
just had dinner with Tucker Carlson a
What?
few other amazing folks
Oh,
that
wow.
are part of our community, and we were at an event together here in Tampa, and I just have to tell you, after talking with, Tudor Dixon, and Buck Sexton and his beautiful wife Carrie, and we're all, sitting there and talking about what's going to happen, and
Mhm.
everybody said the same thing. Is just like there's nothing we can do to control it.
Of course.
The only thing that we can do is prepare for it,
Mhm.
right? And so I'll just leave you with that thought that the biggest minds down to the smallest family are all capable of doing something to allow us to really do what God intended us to do, which is live in faith and not fear,
Yeah.
and be abundant in our life and with our legacy. And so I'll just leave you with that. We have everything that we need to be abundant in
Yeah.
on our land and for our life.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sonia. This has been very inspiring.
Yes, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here with you, and I'm excited to have you on my show.
I'd love to. Absolutely.